Hey, Dr. Mindy here, and I wanted to leave a video on my YouTube channel about keto and menopause because I'm getting a lot of you reaching out and asking me questions. So if you saw my article on my webpage, I did a whole article on how women that are in menopause need to be doing keto differently. I know a lot of you guys are struggling with keto and having sort of this mixed feeling, like part of you loves it because your energy is so great and your brain clarity is so great, and then a part of you is struggling because maybe you're post-menopause or you're in menopause, your hormone symptoms are getting worse. So what I'm hearing from a lot of you and what I'm hearing from people in my practice are things like hot flashes. Your hot flashes go up, or you can't lose that belly weight, or you're not getting the results in keto that a lot of people are, and you're frustrated. So the first thing I want to tell you is that if you're somewhere between 45, 55, even beyond 55, you really need to approach keto differently, because there are certain foods that will help to raise your estrogen and raise your progesterone levels. So if you, just to kind of back up and go through a little bit of what's happening to your hormones, as we start to go into those later years in 40, our hormones start to plummet. Both estrogen and progesterone will get significantly lower. Once you get into your 50s and move beyond, your progesterone and estrogen levels are pretty low. So when you go into a ketogenic lifestyle, a lot of times that lack of insulin and glucose will continue to make those hormones even lower. So you need to be adding in more carb days. Now, let me get really specific with this, because this doesn't mean that you just start going back to your old lifestyle, or you go back to eating burgers all the time on a bun, and you go back to fries. It doesn't mean that. It means that you can do keto for, like, what I recommend women do is keto around 5 days a week, and then for 2 days a week that you throw in some foods that will raise your estrogen and progesterone levels. Now, what are those foods? So foods that I like to incorporate, and I'm a 49-year-old woman, so I'm right in that mix with all of you. Foods that I like to incorporate are things like fruit. In a typical keto diet, most people are not doing fruit. You can't stay keto and do a lot of fruit. Well, a couple days a week, you need to increase fruit. So things like apricots, even dried fruit, if you get some dried apricots that are unsulfured, oranges, strawberries, mangoes, papaya will start to raise progesterone. So you want to add in some key fruits. Okay. Second thing, really helpful for estrogen and both estrogen and progesterone are beans. So black beans, pinto beans, kidney beans. Again, you're not going to see those typically on a keto diet. But for you, if you're transitioning through those menopause years, if you're on the other end and you're still getting hot flashes and you're not losing weight, you're going to have to add in some beans. Okay. The other couple of interesting things are rice, like adding in brown rice will raise progesterone, quinoa will raise both progesterone and estrogen, sweet potatoes, which some people that are keto do rely on sweet potatoes, but also russet potatoes, adding in some of the higher glycemic potatoes will also help your body build these hormones. Think of it, I call it a hormone building day. You need to actually give your body the nutrients that it needs so that it can start to build these hormones. I saw an interesting study this morning that they did on postmenopausal women, that if your estrogen is extremely low, you're 3 times more likely to have metabolic syndrome, which is insulin resistance. So if you're already got this really low estrogen and then you're not feeding it these foods, you're making that estrogen go even lower, and now you're making yourself more insulin resistant. So I don't want you to give up on the keto life, because there's so much good there for you. But I also want you to realize that you've got to add some carbs in. If you're postmenopausal, a lot of my postmenopausal women will do 1 week of keto, 1 week of hormone building, 1 week of keto, 1 week of the hormone building foods that I just talked about. Some of my perimenopausal women that still have a cycle, what I recommend is that they, about a week to a week and a half before they actually start their cycle, before they actually bleed, that's when they add these foods in. So I have a whole ketobiotic reset on it. You can go to my webpage and request the guide, and I'll show you how I map out keto for according to your cycle if you still have a cycle. But understand it's different for women. So if you're frustrated and you're not getting the results you want to get, you're going to have to start looking at your hormones. Now, the other thing that I see a lot with people is that they actually get great results. They lose weight, they're feeling better, but their hair's falling out, or their cycle completely stops, or their hot flashes get worse. So in those cases, again, you're going to have to start to lean on some of these foods that are going to increase estrogen and progesterone. The other thing to really think about for these years of the menopause and postmenopause is exercise. So a lot of times when cortisol goes way up, what ends up happening is that it makes progesterone drop, and your progesterone's already dropping. Now, progesterone's our anti-anxiety hormone, so if you're a big exerciser in your late 40s into your 50s, and you're getting a lot of hot flashes, your hair's falling out, you're not dropping weight the way that you used to, you also need to look at how do you switch some of this really intense exercise you might be doing to things like yoga. Again, I used to run marathons. I'll tell you at 49 now, I'm really focused on doing more yoga than long endurance. And I find that helps balance my hormones. The other question I get is, what about coffee, bulletproof coffee? So coffee will raise your hormones as well, or raise cholesterol, and anytime cholesterol goes up, estrogen and progesterone tend to drop, especially progesterone. So limit your coffee. Look at keeping your bulletproof to 1 a day so you're not getting that cortisol spike. So that's how you do it different. Now, of course, within what I just told you, you'll see that there's a little bit of a different path for the perimenopause, the woman who's actually in menopause, kind of missing periods here and there, and then the postmenopause. So I teach all of this in my resetter group on Facebook. So if you just put resetters in the comment section, we talk a lot about this in that group, and you can ask questions in there, and I'm in there answering them. So if you want to join my tribe, just put resetters and we'll make sure you're in there. But don't give up on keto. Just please go look at how you can raise these foods up. Don't go crazy and go into massive carb load like you used to do it. Be very smart, and you'll see that your hormones will balance. One last thought. I put on, if you follow me on Instagram, because I'm living this day to day, I put pictures of my food all the time on Dr. Mindy Pelz on Instagram, and you can see the different types of foods that I'm currently eating, if that's helpful for you as well. So, as always, I hope that helps. Reach out if you have any questions.